All right, so I know the background and the setting is a little bit different, but we're still going to be talking about the gym here today. I am coming off of a 6-month cut, and while it was difficult, I learned a lot of things while doing this, and I've grown, and I've definitely seen the most success from doing the things that I did in this cut. I wanted to give you guys 6 things that I learned in my 6-month cut. The biggest thing, number one, biggest thing that you should probably take away from this is making sure that you hit the required amount of protein that you need in a day. Calculating and making sure that you hit your protein intake, and it is every day, is going to be paramount as to where you need to be and what you need to see when you go ahead and start a cut. For me personally, I wanted to see myself at 200 pounds. Unfortunately, I didn't hit that goal. I'm fluctuating at the moment right at around 210 to 215 pounds. But I made sure that the amount of protein that I intook in a day was 200 grams of protein. 200 grams of protein was my benchmark and was my definition as to what I needed to get in me in terms of, grams of protein. Super important to keep up your energy levels, super important to keep up your productivity and to not feel fatigued. Also super important to go ahead and make sure that you hit that protein intake to not only build that muscle, but to also sustain the muscle that you have and to make sure that you don't feel low energy, which is something that we've all felt, especially on a cut. Number 2, putting yourself into a calorie deficit. Now, this might be pretty common sense, but some people will, go ahead and actually do a diet, or, they won't know their numbers, or they won't figure out their numbers in order to put themselves into a calorie deficit, or they don't know where to start. For all intents and purposes, you should really be anywhere between 300 and 500 calories into a deficit. I was at 2,000 calories in maintenance, and then I was, just going ahead and doing kind of around anywhere between 1,700 to 1,800 calories a day. And while it definitely sucked, I mostly tried to just get that calorie intake from the protein that I put in my body so that I wasn't going ahead and putting on anything unnecessary into my body. And that was another big factor into that as well. Making sure that you also don't starve yourself. It's not going to help you. It's only going to make things worse. Your body does not always lose weight, so you need to realize that it's going to take time. Let your body regulate and go ahead and just lose the weight that it needs to weight over the correct period of time. I know we want to see results, and sometimes we decide to starve ourselves, or we decide to go into a super deficit where we're maybe 800 or 900 calories. Not worth it. Absolutely not worth it. Take your time. Go into a deficit in order to lose weight, of course, but make sure that you do it the healthy way. Number 3, a scale needs to be in your toolkit. It has to be in your toolkit because that's the only way that you're going to be able to properly track your macros, right? What I mean by macros is, of course, macronutrients, the nitty gritty. So all the stuff that you see on those boxes that you look at when you look at the calories, all of the carbohydrate in grams, all of or whatever metric system it's in, grams of carbohydrates, grams of sugar, grams of protein. Okay, so anything that is going to be higher protein levels, we really want to be low on the carbs, low on the sugar, which I'll get to in a minute. But it's super, super, super important to make sure that you have that scale, especially for things that don't have a label. Like, let's say you want to go ahead and measure how much steak you're having, right? So you want to go ahead and do that. You're going to need that scale. You're going to need that scale to weigh how many ounces or how many grams that steak is, so that you can go ahead and put that into MyFitnessPal, which is what I used. I used that to track every single meal that I had, every single thing that I ate, in order for me to go ahead and hit my protein intake and make sure that I hit those 200 grams that I needed every single day. That scale was always on me. Now we're getting into the last 3. Protein high, carbs and sugar low. Now, sugar shouldn't even be in the wheelhouse, right? Shouldn't even be in our vocabulary, especially when we're on a diet. we can have up to the recommended daily allowance of 45 grams a day. I did almost no sugar to very low sugar. If I was getting sugar, it was going to be in the form of maybe something in a protein bar, maybe with some fruit, maybe some honey, something natural. And natural sugar is fine, but we want to make sure that we stay under that 45 gram threshold. And carbohydrates were super, super low as well. I was averaging about maybe like 70 to 80 grams of carbohydrates in any of my days, just simply because carbohydrates get processed and formed into glucose, and the glucose is what is broken down first rather than fat. You want to be fat adaptive, okay? You want to go ahead and basically take out the carbohydrates and the sugars out of the equation so that your body goes into a state of ketosis. Now, what is ketosis? Ketosis is basically that, simply put, taking out those carbs and sugars and allowing your body to go ahead and, once it has nothing else to attack that fat that is stored, that residual fat, that is the layer that we don't want. So if we maintain our protein high, we forefront that at the heart of what we need to go ahead and do in our deficit and in our diet, we're going to see the greatest success. So for me, this is all just for me. You can take this however you like, but for me, I went and I stuck to basically a carnivore diet. So I mostly just substituted all of my carbohydrates and sugars with either more meat, or supplemented where I needed to with maybe some whey protein isolate, maybe a Fairlife protein shake, a Fit Crunch bar, whatever it may be, but something that was super low in carbohydrates and high in protein. So for me, my meals looked like a plate of meat. And I would substitute what I would normally have with rice or with quinoa or maybe like a small portion of pasta, and I would just add more meat in substitution of that. So I would go ahead and hit my numbers for the day. I would hit my protein numbers because I was adding more protein, and I was putting myself into more of a fat adaptive state, lower carbs, lower sugar, so my body wasn't burning off glucose, it was burning off fat, which is what I wanted. Number five, the scale is not everything. Now, I don't mean the scale that you're using to go ahead and track your macros. No, I am talking about the scale that you weigh yourself with. Now, for me, I become obsessive with the scale, especially when I'm in a cut. So I constantly will go ahead and hop on that scale, and I will constantly look at that number. And sometimes I would be discouraged by it. Why? Because I thought that I was, doing well. I thought that I was not eating as much. I was like, oh, okay, like I'll definitely lose weight, and maybe I had put on an extra pound or something like that. But clothes were fitting me looser. We take it off in other ways, and we take it off in other forms, and you have to understand that keeping a healthy self-image is key. Okay, a healthy self-image is key, and understanding that and knowing that the scale isn't everything. Of course, the numbers don't lie. Of course, we want to make sure that we hit, if we set out a goal, of course we want to hit that. But you have to understand that your body changes and adapts every single day. So that's why we have to go ahead and tweak every once in a while when we go ahead and do a diet. We have to make sure that we're allowing our body to have a cheat meal, on the weekend, once a week. I would have, something higher in protein, but maybe something that had a little bit more carbs to it, like chicken tenders, or maybe a pizza, a buffalo chicken pizza with extra chicken on it. Something that was higher in protein, but had those carbohydrates to basically trick your body and say, hey, oh wait, he's having carbs. Well, what's going on? You know what I mean? And then your body, you go back to your diet the next day and you're like, okay, all right, hold on. Okay, now we're back to losing weight. Now we're getting back in the weight mode, okay? Just like how you got to shock your muscles when you go to the gym and do other exercises, it's the exact same way you got to do it for this. But don't get discouraged by the scale. Just keep being consistent with both your workouts and your diet. Tweak where you need to, and you will see the results in one way or another. Sixth and final point, get that cardio in. It is paramount for you to go ahead and make sure that you get that cardio in, and you make sure that you get your steps in a day, whether that be in some way, shape, or form, whether it be, either on the treadmill, whether it be on the Stairmaster, whether it be on the bike, whatever you need to do in order to calculate and make sure that that mileage meets at least 11,000 steps a day or more. then you're going to be golden. And while we're also doing cardio with weightlifting, it's super important that we also supplement with other cardio as well to put our body further into a state of weight loss. So that is my 6 tips, my 6 things that helped me get into a great shape and a great form that I am very happy with, and I will continue with a cut at another time, but right now we're going to go ahead and head into a bulk because I just did half a year of dieting, and while it was great and while I learned a lot and while I definitely feel better in both my knowledge of my own body and of course in dieting and being in a calorie deficit and watching my protein intake and my strength, etc., it's time to be off of it. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to go ahead and comment. Let me know what you want to see next. I'm always open to ideas and I'm always open to expanding the channel in any way possible. And if you like these talks, please let me know because I would love to go ahead and discuss these topics or things further, maybe in a setting like this outside of the gym. But let me know your thoughts. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button while you're at it too, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, guys.